Alright guys, so the question about which van do you need to get.
Your hustle gotta be strong in this industry, as in any other industry.
So this is a 2011 E350 Super Duty XLT. I have it set up for over the road. That's what it was originally bought to do. That's why we've got the bunk. We've got the inverter connected to some auxiliary power. We've got the diesel heater. When I first got this was a passenger van. I removed the seats, put down the floor and the E-tracks. So this van is obviously a low top van. You've got roughly 48 inches in height. You got about 54 inches in width. You got about 120 inches in length. That's what I've got it set up for. Without the bunk in the way, I believe it's 126, 127. The first van I started using when I first bought my first van for expediting was a 2010 Ford E350 Super Duty XLT. Exact same van as this, except it was white. Took the seats out, put the floor down, made a bunk. No auxiliary power or anything at that time. I didn't know anything about any of that stuff at that point. Basically just a bunk and some storage space. If I have any pictures, I'll post it right here, some pictures of what the back looked like. I'll also post the video of the van tour from that 2010 E350 that I was driving. What you got to remember about then is that there was no Transit, there was no Nissan Envy, there was no Ram ProMaster. All there was the Mercedes and Freightliner Sprinter. Those vans were highly expensive, and they weren't really categorized at that point. They were kind of just the bigger vans coming in and taking advantage of more space in the van and whatnot. So the difference is now when you see loads that go on the load board and that are being, brokered out, they're going to be classed either as a cargo van, which is normally up to 120 inches, 48 inches in height, about 54, 55 inches wide. Anything taller than that, anything longer than that is going to start being classed as a Sprinter van. So they're going to want to start getting into the bigger vans. Now, in my opinion, a van like this, or even your personal vehicle, or a pickup truck, or a little trailer, enclosed trailer, whatever, you can make do doing local and regional type stuff, doing that with those types of vehicles. I think getting a large van is kind of overkill for the local stuff, unless you have a hookup, a connect, that you're going to need that kind of height, that kind of length, all that good stuff. If that's the case, by all means, get the big one. But from my experience and just watching people's channels and talking to drivers, things like that, just paying attention, it seems like the smaller vans like this will suffice for most of the stuff that you can get. I say all that because you don't always have to invest a shit ton of money. And first and foremost, you need to know what you're going to do work-wise. You need to understand that if you're here watching my channel, I do OTR stuff. So most of what I have, everything I have and most of what I do is geared towards being over the road for a long period of time. My van setups, the type of loads I get, the type of way I run my business. So that needs to be taken into consideration. What I do is not the same as a courier or a last mile or, something to that extent. That's more local, regional type stuff. That's going to be a different way of going about getting the freight. It's going to call for a different type of van, a different type of lifestyle. This question about what van is just asked so often, and it's you can't just answer it at face value as far as you just say, oh, here's one answer and it fits for all. Because people need to know, what do you plan to do? Do you want to do local, regional? Do you want to go over the road? Are you trying to do part-time? Because some people are just trying to do part-time. You're trying to go hard at it. All these things come into play. So all these things. So try to understand. Do the dimensions. I don't. It's some of this stuff is common sense to me, in my opinion, as far as researching what type of stuff you need. some people are too concerned with getting the advice of somebody that's in the industry, when sometimes common sense is just going to answer that for you. And I mean that because as far as say you're thinking about local regional stuff. Okay, so you're trying to find what work fits that. If you come across my channel, I do expediting OTR. Okay, well, ask what's the difference between that. Try to get situated what your plan of attack is before you get a van, because that's going to help you a lot. It's going to save you some money, some time, some headache. Because the bigger vans are good for OTR for a couple of reasons. One, you just want to have every opportunity you can. You want to be available for anything possible while you're out on the road, because you're out on the road. You're not home. You're out and about. You're wanting to make money. That's what you're out there for, right? So you want to maximize your opportunities. Another thing is that you're living in these vans. You're not getting hotels every night. You're living in the van. So you want to have that space. So just for example, 144 is kind of the max where carriers or whatnot want to have. They want you to have the capability to haul 3 full-size pallets. Those being 48 by 48 or 48 by 40. You can turn to 40. That's all the other shit. But they want 144 inches in length. Anything past that, you can build yourself a permanent bunk, storage space, whatever you have, whatever stuff you want to bring along. That space you can put to just that. So again, having the bigger van, being able to stand up and put your pants on. I lived in this type of van for 5 years. I'm 6 foot tall. I'm a big guy, and you're laying down, put your pants on. You're bending over, walking everything you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a huge difference to have that living space as far as to be able to stand up and move around freely. It's a major difference. If you've never experienced the bigger van and all you've been in a smaller van, don't bother you. It didn't bother me at all. It didn't bother me at all to not have a heater and all that other shit once I started learning about it. But then once I got it, I'm just, holy shit, I was missing this all the time. So, say all that to say, being long-winded about it, just educate yourself. Ask questions. Even if they seem stupid, ask the question. You've got to figure out what you want to do as far as work, because over the road is way different. Not everybody wants to do the same thing. I also want to add, and I hesitate saying this part to you guys, okay, because what you need to understand, I'm going to preface this with this. I've been doing this for 11 years. I've learned the ropes for the most part. I have my connections that I have, my ability to do things, all those things. I'm familiar with what I'm doing. So I say that because this van, as it is, still makes me money doing OTR. If you can find a driver that has no problem being in this type of van, this money will still make you money. This van will still make you money. Now, you need to have it on at a place that's going to give a shit and going to try. I'm invested in this van, so obviously when I had a driver in this, I was invested in finding freight. So it made solid money. I'm not going to say you get rich off of it, but you're going to make solid money off of this. This thing can get loaded. It's a little more difficult because and this is why, this perspective is why they don't like to take the smaller vans, because the amount of loads you see that is 130 inches or 50 inches tall or 52 inches tall, you just miss out on being able to put that in this van. So you're just like, God dang, man, because you got a driver out there that you're trying to run. You hate to have them sit. At least I do personally. Some dispatchers may not give a shit. Me personally, I don't like it when my driver's sitting. I'm invested in that, not just because it's my van and I make money too, but it's just I understand what it's like to be a driver. I understand the mentality of drivers, and I understand what they're going through mentally for the most part. So, they're obviously happiest when they're running and making money. So that's what I'm doing my best to do. So when you see loads that you can't bid on, especially if they happen to be in a tough area, like a area that's kind of rougher to get freight, say Kansas City's a tough place, or Kansas, or Oklahoma, and there's not a ton of freight that comes out, and then the ones that do is too big for the van. You're like, damn. So that's the part that dispatchers don't like, and that's tough on my end as far as trying to find loads for this type of van. But overall, you can keep it moving consistently if you're smart with where you're going and all of those things. Now, don't take what I just said, and that means, oh, I can buy that van, I'm going to make money. You may not be able to make money if you don't have the right connections when you buy this van. So make sure you have a good idea where you're going to put it. And in order to do that, you're going to call around all the carriers. You know, find out who's willing to take this type of van. How old a van do they want? You know, there's a lot that goes into it to finding the right fit. You know, I have my niche. I have my, you know, I have access to my own load board. I'm you know, my own carrier. So I don't have the same restrictions. Now, if I was to start today and start all over and I go try and get one of these vans, that's what I would do. I'd be calling around, finding out, you know, hey, are you willing to take on this type of van? It's this size, it's this old. You know, I got to find that. And then if I couldn't find it, obviously I'm going to be like, fuck, I'm going to have to get a bigger van. So that may force your hand to get a bigger van. For the local regional guys, this type of van, again, go watch all the channels you want. Put in courier, last mile delivery, local cargo van business. Watch them. Watch the majority of the stuff they put in there. Some of them are filling it from top to bottom, end to end, but most of them throwing some totes in there, throwing a few tires in there, throwing some construction merchant or materials in there, throwing some buckets of something in there. Hardly anybody's filling their van all the way up. Hardly at all. So that is why you need to be mindful, because again, these vans are affordable. That's the best thing about these vans. Well, I should say the best is that they're reliable and affordable. The 5.4 engine in these E350s, just a tank of a van. This van has 930,000 miles on the original engine. Knock on wood. The transmission was replaced at 700 and something, I believe. So these things are very reliable vehicles. They're not a ton to work on as far as the cost wise and parts. Parts are readily available for the most part. And the cost when I got it, I paid, this was 2013 when I bought this one. This is a 2011. This had 90 some odd thousand miles on it, and it ran me like $21,000. Now, mind you, if I had known how to deal with dealerships and whatnot at that point, I probably would have gotten a lot better deal. So keep that in mind. That's a topic for another story. Be educated on how to deal with dealerships, because there is a way to do it. Me personally, just a quick bit on that. I was the type, I went in like, hey, I got this much money down. My credit sucks. I need a van. That is not the way to go do it. Short and sweet of it, just don't do that. Okay, so educate yourself on how to buy a vehicle. So anyhow, these vans aren't expensive. I look for them all the time still, just kind of perusing the costs and whatnot. But you can usually find these anywhere from $6,000 to $15,000, upwards of $20,000. And they got low miles on a lot of them, but these are just great, reliable vans. So if you do choose to get one, you're not gonna be disappointed, because of the value is very good on these things. All right, so I'm gonna end this video, guys. Don't forget, like, subscribe, check out my Facebook group, Transportation Life, Wheels, Wings, Rudders. Also catch me on Facebook, everything Apex. Hit me up, any comments, questions, whatever you got, you guys. Hope to hear from you guys and see you guys. Bye.